We are live. Welcome, Manoj, Mathew.
Thank you, Jim.
You're back in Dubai.
Very back in Dubai.
Very back in Dubai. How are you doing?
From 40,
And you come from?
I came in from Lisbon.
Okay. Yeah. And what's the temperature difference?
It was averaging at about 14, 15 degrees there. And now it's about 35 degrees probably in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
it's about 20 degrees more.
Yeah. We have some people in our team who were in Portugal, so they will be happy to hear. Now they are gone, I think. They will be happy to hear that it's still like not too warm.
Oh, yes.
Uh, Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you,
Uh,
Jim.
Now we will talk about happiness at work, mainly in the Middle East. You made a video for us that will be shown at our conference. And in that video, you mentioned happiness at work. That is where we stand for at Zee. Can you explain that to the people watching us?
All right. So my journey started with Z about 17, 18 years ago, and I joined the marketing department. And I used to head the marketing department for the Middle East and North African region, and I had a small team. And I kept reinforcing one thing to my team, who was directly reporting into me, is that all of us spend about 10 hours or so, and we are one of the largest broadcasters in this part of the world. So we spend about 10 hours with our colleagues at work, and it's so very important that these 10 hours could be spent with love, with respect, with caring. Everybody comes with their bag of challenges, either professional challenges, work challenges, or personal challenges. Everybody has. It's just that we all do not share our professional or our personal challenges, so we do not know about other people's challenges at work, and something else could be really affecting them. It's very simple, very easy to say that, when you're coming to work, leave your personal challenges back home, and when you're back home, leave your professional challenges back at work. It's very simple to say that, but as human beings, it's so very difficult to switch on and switch off. Some of us have been blessed with that capability. It's a sheer blessing, but many of us struggle when we try to cross over on both sides. And it's so very important in empathy, both at the family level as well as at the work level, to understand that everybody has their bag of challenges to carry, and everybody is under some sort of pressure. And if we can understand and then empathize with that, and figure out that if somebody is telling you something, we are not supposed to scream, or show how upset we are at work. At family, we somehow say that's okay, but it's not okay there too. But somehow we say it's okay at a family level, but at work level we are a bit more conscious. But it's that consciousness which we need to carry at every level of our team. So that's something which we, as a small team, when I started off, tried to imply. And as I grew up the ladder, my teams became larger. It became more of revenue roles also. I try to tell that to the team. If you're going to spend 50% of your time out here, sometimes we actually spend more time at work rather than spend time at home. And specifically the last 3-4 years, specifically the last 2 years, though we spend a lot of time at home, the work priorities took over a lot of time because of the new challenges which we are facing and figuring out how to work. Because work had to go on, profit still had to come, revenue still had to come. And revenue and profits is an outcome of our mental makeup. If our mental makeup is pure and it comes from a space, area of certain sanctity and certain empathy, a lot of things come into action. And I think in terms of sheer numbers, something which we were discussing, last both the COVID years, even last year was a challenging year. We did very well compared to quite a lot of our competitors in terms of profitability, and profits in this particular region. And I think it was an outcome of amazing team efforts from everybody, and trying to lend a helping hand to whoever was required. Uh, there were quite a lot of colleagues who had tested positive, but how the entire other team rallied around, and we are a good sizable team here. We have about almost 90 people working in this office across various functions. And everybody rallied around people who required help and support, and specifically the earlier parts of 2020 when nobody really knew what was COVID. And we had our first cases, I think, first case was in January of very bad case was January of 21, but our first cases came, I think, in August of 2020. And how each person stood up for the other ones, or helping them in any which ways they could, because we were also in semi-lockdown, was very commendable. And it actually showed in a various part. The team became stronger as an interpersonal. We understood more about each other's personal, family, and professional challenges and personal challenges, right? And it was a blessing in disguise that it actually percolated and translated into numbers in terms of profits and otherwise. And I think we were above our budgets where other people were kind of suffering. We were, I think, above our budgets by almost about 10%, which was very commendable during both the years. And when we sustained that in our last financial year too. Yeah. So it actually leads down to better profits at the end of the day.
That is something. There I have two questions. Like when we think about and then in Europe, and mainly when we think about the Middle East, we think about it's money. But you mentioned there mainly you started with empathy. So for me personally, like it's like a surprise that to hear like a big company as Zee, that they focus on empathy. Yeah, that for me it's like surprising to hear. On the other hand, and that's then the second question is like, how important is result and profit for happiness at work?
So in the end, it's the commercial value of any company which drives us. We have to really respect that, and Zee is a huge conglomerate, and I think these values of empathy follows almost every single office world over, or headquartered back at India, and we are always encouraged to do. There were multiple calls from our CEO and MD, Mr. Puneet Goenka, to all of us to understand what's happening. There are multiple calls from the HR department, and each employees could take it up to their immediate managers and otherwise. And a lot of attempts were there to address things. We, in fact, in the international team, unfortunately, we had 2 deaths too. And and there was families to be taken care of, families to be repatriated back, because the work condition in Middle East is very different. You work as long as you have a valid visa, or you're sponsored by a spouse who has a valid visa. Once that expires, either you have to get into your own work mode thing, or you have to move back. So the challenges are very, very different. So we had one of our colleagues who had worked with me for over 15 years who passed over with COVID last year. And then I had another colleague, of course, not from my region, but from Africa, had the same. And the way and every single staff, actually not just the HR was at the forefront of it, but every single team member in some way or the other supported that. And that was particularly brilliant. Again, I'm living in a very lucky place when we talk about Dubai and UAE, probably one of the first countries in the Middle East to have an happiness minister. And they take that very seriously. And to have another minister for tolerance, because if you look at UAE as a country, the number of nationalities which live there, I always would say, because I used to, at my earlier part of my career, when I just came to Dubai, I had worked on various government projects. I mean, I think the headquarters of UN should be probably Dubai or UAE somewhere. The amount of nationalities which live and work together here, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal, and everybody finds their own space of happiness. Each of us have our own challenges. I'm not giving anything away to challenges, but how we overcome that, and how we overcome holding each other's hands and giving them the courage needed, and above all, the love needed to go through that. That's what actually moves the boat forward.
Yeah, and there was that government initiative to go from 5 days to 4.5, I think.
Correct. So the government initiative is to go change the weekend actually from the Friday, Saturday to the Saturday, Sunday. And the government has given everybody the opportunity to go to a 4.5 week. So most of the companies here still are following a hybrid work model of about 2 to 3 days from home and from work, and about 2 days from home, depending upon what sort of jobs you do. We still continue that. So almost we are out of the COVID or the lockdown spaces. Masks are still on in closed public areas, but outside you can remove your masks. But we still continue the hybrid work format. We probably will continue that for another 2 months and then look into it again. So that is that. So government has taken a lot of steps, not only just in terms of the work-life balance or so. See, work-life balance is a government or a company can give us guidelines. It is to each of us to actually implement. So it's not just with a government or with a company head or HR head. It's not their responsibility. It's the responsibility of each and every one. And that's something which I keep telling our larger team and our leadership here, who work very closely with me, that each of us bear the mantle of bringing happiness at work and pass on that to every other employee, within each teams. And it's a classic cascading down effect of a particular concept which you believe in. And if you remember way back in our B school days, we had this amazing concept of management by objectives. And today, happiness has become an objective, and we need to cascade this down to every single employee. As we cascade down, KRAs or KPIs to every single employee, exactly knows what they are supposed to do. We have to make this a component. It may not be very possible for an HR to all of a sudden bring in, but they can give us directions, and each of us should be the role models for that.
Yeah. I always, when you start talking about that, I always see the fire in you lighting up. That seems really, really important for you. Like,
It's something which actually helped me every moment of my career. I'm so proud of my team. And I mean, we are what our team is, actually. We get the accolades and the pat on the shoulder, but it's actually the team doing the work for us, and they make us look so good.
Yeah.
So that's something which I believe in.
How do you bring that fire to your team?
I think it's a combination of giving people the freedom to work. If I believe that I've hired the right people in the company, I need to give them the freedom to go and execute what they're supposed to do. But along with that freedom, I tell each of my team members that there is responsibility towards that.
Yeah.
Responsibility and authority goes hand in hand. And that's the value of that particular freedom. We need to understand these three elements, and then you have the freedom to go execute in the way. And that's why we hire different people, right? Otherwise, we could just hire clones. That's why we get different talents into our team. And then, we need to unbundle that particular talent and let them loose. And that's what the company would stand to benefit. And we would need to take that risk. I do know that there has been failures, but the company has stood by me during those times of failures, because I have also given a lot amount of successes. But failures there's those amazing experiences where we don't go and do it again, and we find a new way to do things, and that's why. So we could keep experimenting, and we are encouraged to experiment. So I always encourage the team to experiment, and that's been the success mantra at Zee.
Yeah. What do you check before you give autonomy?
Well, there is a lot of trust factor which I do check. I love to keep my cards. That's the way I play the game. I love to keep my cards close to it, and I start giving them small responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And in between the small responsibilities, at times a big one. Then I make them part of bigger responsibilities, and I have the key lieutenants who are the level 1 leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So we have teams with them, and we give responsibility to individuals who have not yet got those responsibilities. And we try and give financial responsibility to even to non-financial or non-revenue roles. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, if you really look at it, I mean, when we look at marketing, or let's say look at HR, we are all these departments are considered non-revenue departments. And when a challenge hits, right, when people have to be let go of, it is these so-called non-revenue departments who let go of people first, because the sales part or the finance part, they all kind of stay within the company. They're the last to let go. So, but if we make each of those individuals who are in marketing or in other places conscious of revenue roles and what their role adds to the entire profitability of the company, and give them some sort of KRAs which have a reflection in true revenues, rather than fluffy KRAs, which are percentage wise, and we do not know. It's very subjective KRAs. So one thing I do with all our team is we have subjective KRAs, but we have very specific, even for non-revenue roles, we have specific number related KRAs. So this combination of factors actually help people grow up. And even when they leave Zee and when they go to other companies, they are valued far more better, and they are given far more higher salaries and better roles there. So
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Yeah. Asha, who is one of our founders, co-founder, she is curious about the Canva you have behind you. What is on that Canva?
Oh, the canvas. The canvas, if I can try and pan that, that's what it looks like. And there is a lady sitting and meditating somewhere in the corner. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
All of us could choose a canvas, and then there is a little other canvas here which says
Yeah.
the true meaning of life. I'll read it out to you.
Yeah.
It says, we are visitors on this planet. We are here for 90 or 100 years at the very most. During that period, we must try to do something good, something useful with our lives. If you contribute to other people's happiness, you will find the true goal, the true meaning of life. This is a quote by His Holiness Dalai Lama. And this is something which guides me, so I had put it up there.
Yeah. 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 Great. Great. Now we are in contact with people all over the world. We see a lot of differences, like America, Europe, India. Now, to summarize, like what's going on in America, there you have like people are not protected in their jobs are not protected like in Europe. So you see in America the great resignation. So 47 million people left their jobs because during COVID they saw like they got some insights, personal insights, and they left their jobs. What you see in Europe, there they had protection of their job. They wait, but there what we see is like a lot of people. That's a new phenomenon. It's like that's called coasting workers. So they just do the minimum. They take the salary and they go out. What we see in India, for example, there when I send them a scan, and it's a scan like just to measure like where they are as an employee and where they are like as an employer. What you see is that employees, they are scared to fill in like a survey about their boss, about their manager. Now, what is the current situation in the Middle East? Is there also scarcity on the labor market?
It is a mix of both. All of a sudden, for some people who are employees, they found probably a new courage or a new guts to go venture out to do something which they always wanted to. I would say I would want to avoid the word most of us, but I guess there is a good percentage of people who are probably in a job they are unhappy with, and they are doing the job for the reason of a job, because it gives you a monthly salary, not because they are very happy with that. I always wanted to be in the content business. I come from the advertising industry, and so I started my career in the advertising industry almost 25, 27 years ago. And all I wanted was to be in the content industry. I will be a complete misfit if I'm going to the insurance or the banking industry, or if I go into, I love automobiles, I love cars. I would be very unhappy if I even go into a car industry. I will be happy for probably 6 months, and then I will lose my interest in that. So a lot of people are trying to ask, and this COVID gave them a lot of time to think about themselves, to ask those right questions. Can I explore other things? A challenge in Middle East and back in India is a challenge which is you get branded to the industry you are in. So tomorrow, let's say if after so many years, I want to switch and I want to go to the travel and tourism industry. I love traveling. So if I want to go to the travel and tourism industry, I will not be accepted there because they will say that I do not have experience. Unlike in Europe or US, wherein if they interview you and you have certain talents for that particular job, because as a function, I'm a marketing person I started off my career as a marketeer in an advertising agency. So I can market any product. Today, as a media company, I help market various industries. It could be from insurance to government to travel and tourism to FMCG to cars, automobiles, everything comes to us, and we give them guidelines how to do it. But it'll be very difficult for us in these two regions to really go into the other industry. So we get branded for that industry where you have spent some time and you could always be there. So it gives a lot of people lesser mobility, and then they are kind of scared, and they try to, on the back of it, even during an appraisal time, you really don't say that I'm upset about something. Very few people in these two regions come across and say that I'm upset about something. Can we set this right? They take that pain and they carry that pain to the next 1 year. And when we do our appraisal, I actually ask them, I have very open questions of where do you want to go? Are you happy here or move on? Don't otherwise stay here. Many of us have financial responsibilities, big families, or other financial commitments. So, you need to have more monies. And unfortunately here, officially, you're not supposed to work multiple jobs. Today, the government has made it in UAE at least. They have made it that I can actually go and take multiple jobs, but provided I get a no objection certificate from my current employer. So many people may not want to go and ask the current employer, can I get a no objection certificate? Because when employers need to have that amount of maturity, they'll say that, okay, then I don't want to, or I'm going to reduce your salary. So employees should be ready for a negotiation of that sort also. So, okay, you're going to work for 8 hours. I'm going to, you're going to work for 4 hours. Fair enough. But I'm going to be reducing your salary. So, that is a fair negotiation an employer will ask. So sometimes the employee from the other point of side may not always want that reduction, and that's unfair on the employer too. So, but I think there's a huge shift happening here with a lot of new startups happening and people trying to do. I do not know whether it's a fad. I do think it's a fad, though I'm not too sure about it, that it is because of this 2 years of staying in, we get very creative when we are in our own space and we want to try out. So there would be a lot of new startups in the next probably 2 to 3 years. Some of them will actually become amazing unicorns. Some of them will fall by the way, and probably people will get back into work or find new ways of working. By the time, I think employers also will mature far more, I would say evolve far more. And I think these last 2 years showed employees and employers evolving.
Mm-hmm. Now you are in the media business. You are well aware about our conference. Yes. How important do you think this conference is for, the awareness of happiness at work?
Very. If you remember what we spoke about the last time we had a call, I said, I think this conference should be setting new benchmark of how we work, because it's so important for all corporates to understand and implant happiness as a KRA. And it will go a long way in having happy products and services. When you have happy products and services, you have more customers. When you have more customers, you have more money. People are willing to give their very best when you treat them with a bit more compassion and a bit more empathy. There will be always some challenges. We got to play that by the game. And like I said, I think we should make happiness at work what the economy conference is at Davos. Yeah. Happiness at work conference and work would be that sort of same benchmark. And that's my whole supplication to you, that we should actually be doing that.
Yeah, we will do that, and you will be in Antwerp. So last question, what do you hope to see in Antwerp?
A confluence of amazing minds. I want to hear this amazing speakers, meet those people in one-on-one, experience the energy of having a happiness conference. I've always gone to economic and a profitable conference, but I want to go actually and see the energies and feel the energies of a happiness conference. I want to hear the minds of it, and I want to share my mind.
Yeah, and I know you really like to encourage people, to give people a chance. And how happy will you when you see Gina performing her dream on stage?
I bumped into Gina as a performer, I think in 2016. Yes, to end of 2016. And it was a colleague of mine who had introduced me to her and said that, amazing upcoming talent. Can we look at something to work with her? So I had my first radio project which I was doing in Middle East, and I said, I love experimentation. And when I heard the some of the tracks she had sung, I said, you know what, she's going to sing a part of the radio jingle and be part of this particular journey, including the opening act of that particular station. And then we flew her down into Dubai, and that's how we both became part of each other's lives.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Manoj.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure.
VP with a heart, and let's meet in person in Antwerp.
Looking forward to all the very best to you, the entire team, all the speakers. Love and light to all of you. Bless you all.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye bye.